All right, let's jump right into this explainer and completely reframe how we look at the animals around us. I mean, have you ever caught your dog or cat just staring at you from across the room and thought, what is actually going on behind those eyes? Today, we're going to move way past the basic ideas of, whether they love you or just want a treat. We're going to uncover what they have actually categorized us as. So, to figure out what your pet genuinely thinks of you, we first have to swallow a pretty humbling truth. They absolutely do not care about your name, your career, or your deep, complicated inner life. We spend so much time looking at ourselves through this highly human lens, right? But to the animals sharing our living space, none of that context even exists. The real question isn't whether they get our world, it's what they've decided we are in theirs. Instead of all that baggage, they rely strictly on raw, observable data. Literally just four things. They judge you on how you walk, how you smell, the sounds you make, and a super simple calculation. Are you useful or are you a threat? Every single animal you interact with has essentially run a full background check on you using just those four metrics. Section 1. Dogs, the center of the world. Let's get right into it. Okay, so dogs are probably the most generous animals when it comes to grading us. They already know you smell totally wrong, and you walk incredibly awkwardly on two legs, like something that's just about to tip over at any second. But let's shatter a massive myth right now. A brilliant study out of Barnard College proved that their famous guilty face, the one right after they destroy your favorite shoe, it isn't guilt at all. Actually, they make that exact same face whenever you seem upset, whether they did anything wrong or not. They're not apologizing to you. It's actually a highly calculated method of emotion management. They sense your bad mood before you even fully process it yourself, and they deploy those puppy dog eyes just to calm you down. So if we piece it all together, here is your profile inside a dog's brain. You are this loud, emotionally obvious, totally awkward, two-legged creature with a terrible sense of smell. But, and this is a huge but, you have unlimited access to snacks. Plus, you have this incredibly weird habit of just disappearing for hours without any explanation whatsoever, which makes your return home the single most important event of their entire day. Every single time. Moving on to Section 2, cats, the clumsy roommate. Now, cats have a totally different working theory about who we are. Biologist John Bradshaw actually spent years studying domestic cats, and his conclusion? They treat us exactly like they treat other cats. The slow blink, the head bump, dropping a dead mouse at your feet. They're just doing what they do for any other feline. And this leads to a pretty tough pill to swallow for cat lovers. We think purring equals pure love, right? Well, actually, a cat's purr vibrates at an exact, specific frequency known to promote bone healing. So they aren't just purring because they adore you. They're essentially running their own physical therapy session. To your cat, you're basically just a giant, very clumsy, reasonably warm cat that serves as an excellent resting spot for their medical recovery. A giant cat who also somehow magically controls all the doors. Section 3. The critics, raccoons and crows. Let's step outside our homes for a second and look at the urban survivors who have studied us intensely, starting with raccoons, who might actually have the most insulting view of humanity out there. Back in the early 1900s, researchers gave raccoons a bunch of locked puzzle boxes. They solved every single one. And get this, they remembered exactly how to open them 3 years later. They can crack practically any raccoon-proof trash can any city tries to invent. They aren't scared of us at all. They'll sit on your porch, eating your food, making direct eye contact. To a raccoon, you are just a slow, highly predictable builder of really elaborate, poorly secured food storage. And this kind of observation gets insanely complex, especially when we're talking about crows. Researchers at the University of Washington did this wild experiment where they wore specific rubber masks while tagging crows. Years later, untagged crows, birds that had never even been captured, would aggressively scold and dive bomb anyone walking across campus wearing those exact masks. They literally built a generational database without an ounce of technology, teaching their kids exactly which human faces were dangerous. Not humans in general, mind you, but specific faces. To a crow, you are literally a file in a warning system that gets passed down through generations. Section 4. The apex threat. But when we leave the city and head into the true wild, humans get classified as something much, much more terrifying. Researchers in Kenya found out that wild elephants keep permanent mental archives of us. If an elephant hears you speak, it isn't just hearing background noise. It's sorting your gender, your age, and your exact threat level in real time purely from the sound of your voice. And they do not forget. They recognize individual humans across decades. To an elephant, you are a permanent record in a memory bank that will likely outlast your own. In the African bush, another staggering study showed just how deep this terror goes. Researchers played recordings of lion growls near watering holes, and as you'd expect, some animals ran. But when they played recordings of human voices at the exact same volume, lions, leopards, giraffes, rhinos, apex predators, and prey alike, all of them fled. It proved that we are, without a doubt, the single most dangerous sound in their entire world. We like to think of ourselves as quiet, peaceful observers out in nature, but man, they know better. And then there's the totally alien perspective of an octopus at a New Zealand Marine Center. Keep in mind, 2/3 of an octopus's neurons are in its arms. Its brain runs on a system so completely different from ours that comparing them doesn't even make sense. Yet, this one octopus used that alien brain to single out one specific staff member it just did not like. It squirted water at her every single time she walked past the tank, totally ignoring everyone else. It didn't have a grudge against humans. It had a very specific grudge against her. Which brings us to Section 5. Why our pets stay. When you look at this entire spectrum, from the super calculating octopus and crows all the way to terrified wildlife, it brings up a really profound realization about our common pets. Because here is the completely unflattering truth. Animals watch us way closer than we watch them. They see every single negative thing about us. They know we're loud, they know we're clumsy, slow, wasteful, and incredibly emotionally obvious. They see every single flaw we spend our entire lives trying to hide from other humans. And faced with all those glaring flaws, wild animals have totally reasonable reactions. The crow stays far away, the raccoon steals our food in bales, and the octopus literally chooses violence and squirts water. But your dog and your cat? They look at your clumsiness, your noise, your awful sense of direction, and they choose the exact opposite response. They stay. And let's be super clear here. They absolutely do not have to stay. Wolves survive perfectly fine in the wild without us. Cats are better at surviving alone than almost any domesticated animal on the planet. Yet, they curl up right next to us anyway. They looked at everything wrong with us and decided, somehow, that we were the most important thing in their world. They stayed because something about us, despite all the noise and the clumsiness, was worth staying for. So, I want to leave you with this one thought. Your pet is already fully aware of every embarrassing, flawed thing about you. And you know what? They just don't care. They never did. So the next time your dog or cat locks eyes with you from across the room, ask yourself, knowing everything they know about you, what incredible thing have they figured out about you that makes you the absolute center of their universe?